Hello everyone, Raven here. Today is going to be a little bit simpler, probably pretty short. This is basic, and it's one of the writer's dogma that is most common, I'd say. By that, I don't mean it's brought up most, but it's one that almost everybody agrees on to an extent. They always say, do not use adverbs. Always avoid adverbs. That's where it's dogmatic, is some always never use them. Not always. Almost everybody will agree. It's better to avoid them when you can. But what I think isn't touched on enough is why. Because if you ask me, the reason to avoid adverbs when you stop and you consider it isn't just because adverbs in and of themselves are the problem. It's because avoiding helps. No, that's all it is. Helps keep you in that frame of mind where you're showing, not telling. When you come to tell of something that happened, something somebody did, and you feel that need to put an adverb, it's because you want to make it give people a better image of exactly how it's being done. But you do more showing if you can't have the adverb, and you have to say more that'll actually describe it more fully, what's happening. Not just that single action, but everything around it, everything about it. And for this reason, it only applies to stories. Poetry, not so much. Can be good sometimes, but it's definitely not do not use. Sometimes it can be really good to use it. It's obviously not any kind of nonfiction work that's describing things, not actually going and telling you any kind of story. Now, if within that you're going to use some kind of analogy or give some kind of backstory or anything to what you're talking about, then yeah, in those parts it might be good to avoid them. But it's not because the adverbs are the problem. It's because the adverbs can be an easy way out to keep you from having to describe much. That's what they are. Too often you throw that in and you can just leave out so much of what would take some effort to describe it, to show it, instead of telling. And that can actually take away from it. Because what makes this so big, why it's the adverb, not the adjective, is because this isn't just about showing you the setting. This is about showing you what's happening. That's where the showing really comes in. Is how things occur. How things are going about. It's not seeing a snapshot of the scene that really does it. It's when you see how it transpires, how it happens. If you don't give full description of that, the reader's not really going to feel like they're in the story as much. You give the adverb, they're just viewing from a distance. You give them more of the details, you're going in for a close-up, you're more in the scene. That's what this is about. So it's when you actually are keeping that in mind, when you're approaching it that way and trying to think, would it be better if I went about describing this another way? Would that make this scene feel more real? Would it make it more fully portrayed? So, do not use that adverb. If it's not going to go down that road, if it's not going to help in any way with that, if it's not hindering that in any way, then it's not that big of an issue. It's not that those words are the problem. It's what they replace. If the whole point of what you're doing was to show a scene, you'd probably be writing a poem, or you'd probably be painting an image, drawing something. No, in a novel, short story, you are telling a story, and that story is what happens. That's why it can be so good to avoid adverbs, as long as you don't let it become too much of a dogma. Like I said, really simple, really basic. Just felt like I need to bring this up because I've seen it come up a few times. I've seen people mention it here and there, and I wanted to make sure people understood better why this rule is put out there. Why is it there? What's its purpose? Because that's when you can tell better, not just when to use it, where to use it, but how to use it. Hope that helps. Hope it makes things a little bit easier, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless.